folks, your OS reviews. You're watching our video unboxing and first impressions of the Onda V80 Plus. This is an 8-inch tablet with a full 1080p display. And if the name sounds familiar, that's because it is. The V80 Plus was actually released about a year ago, and back then it was a dual booting tablet, unique for running both Windows 10 and Android 5.1. Right now, it's still available on GearBest, and you can find it for a touch under $100, which is still a pretty good buy for a portable tablet, and it's been upgraded to have the latest Android 7.1 operating system, but now it's only single boot as opposed to having dual boot. So it's Android only, which is the version we're checking out now, instead of having both Windows and Android. So the color that we have right now is for champagne gold. You can see on the box on the back has some additional specs and details about the unit. They're mostly printed in Chinese, but you get the idea. It has an 8-inch 1080p display. It has a quad-core processor, which is the Intel Cherry Trail chipset Z8350. It also offers Intel HD graphics, has 2 GB of RAM and 32 GB of built-in storage, has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth, and it has a 5-megapixel rear-facing camera. So this is actually the older kind of text. It's actually running on Android 7.1, I believe. So let's take a closer look at what we have inside the packaging. So close competitors to the Onda V80 Plus, I would say, would include the Xiaomi Mi Pad 8-inch tablet, in addition to the Lenovo P8 that we also checked out a few weeks ago. These are all 8-inch devices with a full 1080p display. Although one difference is the Onda, again, has the Intel chipset, which is typically seen more commonly running on Windows as opposed to Android. The performance should be decent enough on the latest gen Cherry Trail chipset generation. So here I have a basic touchscreen operation guide and some basic user manual by Onda. Right on top, we have just the tablet itself. We'll take a closer look at this in a second. And down below here, we have the contents or the accessories, and that includes just a micro USB cable for charging and syncing with a computer. It's a standard charger. I do wish it was using USB Type-C, but again, this tablet isn't completely new to the market, so it makes sense. It's going to fully recharge in under 3 hours, and it should get you roughly 2 days of use before you need to recharge it again. There's also a full user's manual documented on the bottom of the box. Taking a look at just the tablet now, if we slide it out of its shell, you can see it's very shiny. And let's try to peel back this screen protector from the front. Immediately, we see the tablet has a white kind of bezel on the edges, and again, since this is the champagne gold version, we have that gold coloration on the back. So let's try to also peel back this protective film. The body of the Onda V80 is constructed out of aluminum, so it feels quite sturdy and solid as far as build is concerned. It definitely seems quite premium and similar to the iPad mini as far as the overall feel it's like. On the very bottom, there's some basic advertisements and specs about the unit itself, and on the sides, you have access to fairly tactile controls for the volume, the power key. Let's tap on this for a few seconds and see if there's any juice left. There's access to the rear-facing camera on the very back, which is autofocus enabled, but there's no LED flash. And on the very top, there's also access to a traditional 3.5mm headphone jack, a micro USB port for charging and syncing. There is a speaker. On the side here, there is the micro SD card slot for expanding the built-in memory, and that's basically it. This plastic portion of the base here is where the antenna is located, so that's where the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth signals are sent out from. Alright, so it seems like the tablet is beginning its initial boot, and now we're just greeted to a fairly stock version of, again, Android 7.1. It looks quite clean. On first impressions, the display seems very bright, it's crisp looking, and it's an IPS panel, which means that viewing angles, as you can see here, are excellent. It is a glossy panel, though, so it does reflect a fair amount of light, so if you're outdoors, just be cautious of that, and maybe a matte screen protector would help you out. Otherwise, it seems also pretty sensitive on first impressions. There's actually still a layer of screen protector on here that you can just leave on there. It prevents the screen from getting scratched. The top here also features a front-facing camera for video chatting, and it comes in at 2 megapixels, along with the ambient light sensor for automatically dimming the display. So again, a very stock install of Android, and again, the screen gets even brighter if you want it to. And if we just kind of basically move around the home screen, you can see there's no additional bloatware that has been pre-installed. App drawer here seems also fairly stock. There's access to the regular browser, which is a WebKit-based unit. And there's also access to Chrome if you want tab browsing and a few extras. There's access to the camera. The only additional app that isn't really stock here is the ES File Explorer, which you can use to manage content from the SD card to the internal memory. Everything else, including the gallery, Play Store, and basic clock and utility functions, are there by default. So very clean install, so it should free up quite a bit of space for you to download the games and programs that you want to run on your tablet. Obviously, we'll be doing a lot more testing and come out with a more complete review of the unit, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been our unboxing first impressions of the Onda V80 Plus, and this is the single boot version running just on Android.